Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim, aka Blub Blub, here with Drink a Beer and Play a
Ah,
Game. Jim, that's never going away. Just accept it. And
oh, I
welcome
know.
to another Power Hour. We're getting started a little bit late here. For those of you watching on Twitch, we appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, thanks a bunch. So, as always, we're going to get started with what we're drinking. So, Jim, hit us off.
Oh, okay. So I was in a rush tonight, so I didn't have time to plan out my drinking. So I'm drinking some more Yingling.
The Yingling Light.
Yingling Light Lager, once again.
Okay. Yeah, so I am actually finishing off my Yingling variety of beers I've had, and I'm going with the Yingling Porter. Now, this is actually the last beer from Yingling I have yet to try, so after I try this, I've tried everything they've made. From what I've seen, this actually has the highest rating of all the Yingling beers, so I'm really interested, and I am a big fan of porters in general. So, yeah, just once again having better beer than Jim. Damn, I am fucking these guys up. So let's get started. Just diving right into these topics. So the first one, I wanted to bring back a beer topic, and I kind of wanted to pose a question for Jim and myself is, what are some of our go-to summer beers? Doesn't have to be our favorite, but something that either just reminds us of summer or something we prefer to drink when it's a little hotter out. So Jim, I'll let you start with that.
Oh, I mean, I think for me, a perfect beer for the summer time and shit like that is probably a nice Pilsner. Not even so much the, I mean, I can drink a cheap beer as much as the next guy, but I'm fine with some of the more high-end Pilsners out there, and they do exist. Not too many craft companies seem to want to do them because it's all about hops and IPAs, but yeah, nice, cool, crisp, refreshing Pilsner is always good. I like Hefeweizens too, but they can get a little thick after a while, but they're also nice and, you know, maybe a little more on the fruity side, a little more flavorful. I don't want like a thick beer when it's hot out and, you're in the middle of summer. I don't want a porter. I don't want a stout. I want something that's kind of lighter, but also just kind of refreshing to drink.
Okay. For me, yeah, I actually do prefer Hefeweizens in the summer, just because they tend to be a little bit more abundant. But
So
like
good.
like Jim, I definitely like to stick to lighter beers. I think that's just an obvious. If it's hot out, like he said, you don't want to be indulging in super thick or too much alcoholic beers, especially if you're outside. So another great one is any wit beers. They're a really light beer out there. And of course, like Jim said, you do Pilsners, you do Pale Ales, just anything on the lighter side. But wit beer and Hefeweizens, those are kind of my go-to. But as far as a more generic, just actual beer that people might know instead of giving you styles, one of my kind of go-to, and technically it's craft, but it's definitely more popular, is kind of just the Sam Adams Summer Wheat. Or even the Yingling Summer Wheat, for that matter. Both of them are kind of really easy to drink. And if you're in the PA area, there's this Free Will Brewing Company. They make a mango wheat beer, which is really light. I think it's only like 4, maybe 5% tops. Goes down real smooth, and it just has that hint of mango that actually enhances the flavor. So pretty good for a barbecue or just when you're outside in a fire pit at night. Moving on, Jim, I threw this topic on here today. Wanted to see what you thought, but what is your favorite video game movie? Now, obviously, they are pretty renowned for being terrible, but I wanted to see what your favorite one was. Not necessarily what you think the best one is.
Oh no, I would never go with what I thought the best one is. I don't even know if I could tell you what I thought the best one was, but it's a toss up. It's between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and like yeah, they're shit movies, but I enjoy the ever living shit out of them. It was a sign of the times. I grew up with them, so it's tough because Mortal Kombat's definitely the better movie, but there's just so much fucking bad awesomeness about the Street Fighter movie. I can't decide. I guess if I was like stuck with one movie, I'd probably go Street Fighter because of how goofy it is. So maybe I would go with that.
Interesting.
With Jean-Claude Van Damme being the the Hungarian or Austrian American, sergeant.
Yeah. It all works out. Yeah, so I was gonna say mine is definitely Mortal Kombat. It's bad, obviously, but I really feel like that's one of those movies that's like they knew what they needed to do to make a video game into a movie, and it's like what you would expect. Just a kind of over the top story, just any excuse to start seeing some of your favorite, actual characters from Mortal Kombat fighting on the live screen. So that would definitely be mine. But on a kind of more serious, now it's not obviously inspired by a direct video game, but one movie I do want to say, if nobody's ever seen or if you haven't seen it, go out and see it, is the documentary movie called King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. That is probably one of my favorite documentaries I've ever seen, and that's
really good.
Yeah, it's not even because it's about video games. And for those of you who don't know, it was about Steve Wiebe, who was attempting to beat the current high score of Donkey Kong from his name is
Billy Mitchell.
And it's just the way they show these guys, and it's just this awesome. I don't want to give anything away, but it's this David versus Goliath, I'll say, movie, and like they develop the characters and you get invested. I had a lot of friends who aren't into video games who watched it and loved it, and I got a lot of my female friends who really don't like video games, and even they got hooked on it. So just a good movie, one I wanted to throw out there for you guys. So obviously in the comments below, we want to hear what is your favorite video game movie. When I started trying to remind myself of some of them, I was going to go with the Resident Evil movies, but I don't even like all of them as much as I would say just the single Mortal Kombat. Even though I don't mind the first Resident Evil movie. The rest of them kind of get really goofy. But, yeah. All right, so next one is specific just for Jim, because I think everyone who watches our channel knows my answer already. But, Jim, I don't know if you saw this, and this is probably fairly old, but they're remastering Parappa the Rapper for PS4. Now, I know you don't have a PS4 yet, but let's assume you have one. Would you buy that?
If it gets a physical release, I would definitely buy it.
But
so if it was a
digital,
unless it was like a PlayStation. Do they have free games like Xbox does with the like games with gold?
Not really. They have a version of it, but it's not the same.
Sons of bitches. So, oh wait, PlayStation Now, you have to like stream the game, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, and it's like they do only have licenses for so long. I forget. It's just, I know it ends up costing, I think, a lot more if you want to try to do a thing like gold. So, yeah, there's nothing that really compares to that Xbox Gold.
Okay, so yeah, if it got a physical release, it would be a definite, and if it was a download only, I'd probably get it, but maybe if it was on sale one random month for like $5 or something.
So you would definitely get it with a physical release, even though you already have the original PlayStation.
Correct.
How much would you be willing to pay for it?
Really, honestly, probably not more than 20. I'd wait for it to go down.
Okay.
Unless they added a lot more to it, but if it's just like a straight redo of the original Parappa.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I obviously didn't dig much into it, but I'm pretty sure they're just remastering it and making it, I guess, graphically a little better.
Really? The original Parappa, your favorite game? You didn't want to dig more into that?
No, Jim, I didn't.
If that's just the case, then I would probably wait, because I have no reason to buy it for anything more than a couple of bucks. So.
Could have stopped that sentence with "you have no reason to buy it, Jim."
But, Brian, I got to see the pretty graphics.
I would get so mad at you if you actually bought that.
Actually, I think I did remember seeing screenshots a while back, and like Parappa 2 still looks better than the remaster of Parappa 1. As weird as it is to say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Parappa 2 is way better. I mean, for a game like that, I should say. But, yeah, It's interesting. I mean, as we found out when we did the Parappa month, or covered all the games, people seem to really still like that. So I guess PlayStation just wants to capitalize on that. It's an interesting game to choose. We'll see how well it does.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they have any real sync issues with the voice and the music on HD TVs too, with all the different lags and latencies. So yeah, that'll be kind of interesting. But yeah, outside of a couple bucks, I want to get it.
Snarkcast, you and me are on the same page. That game is shit. So.
Oh, you're both wrong. Very nice.
All right, so we talked about, obviously, a couple weeks ago when we first found out that Call of Duty is going to go back to World War II. Obviously, this week they just released the trailer. Jim, I'm just going to assume you didn't watch it yet.
You would be correct.
Yeah, so just my general thoughts then on the trailer. Like every time they release the first Call of Duty trailer, I think people always kind of anticipate like maybe some better reveals for what's going to be in the multiplayer, or like some hints of that, or will it show you controlling a vehicle in multiplayer? It obviously just showed off a really impressive engine with really impressive graphics, good sound. At least, and I know it was from the single-player campaign, there definitely seem to be vehicles, but every Call of Duty has vehicles, so we'll just see if they're smart enough to actually implement them into the multiplayer game. Other than that, though, I'm just really excited in the sense that we're going to get back to boots on the ground, and, World at War is still pretty much my favorite Call of Duty, so I just can't wait to get back to that, and I hope it's just as good as that game. I hope they bring back some of the maps, because it has, especially the one with the church in it. I can't remember the name of it, but that is probably my favorite Call of Duty map ever, especially with the sniper tower. It was awesome. So yeah, I'm just excited. But yeah, from the trailer, like I said, nothing too groundbreaking. And Jim, I know you probably will never decide to watch it. You just like to wait.
No, I'll get around to it, but I mean, their trailers, like you said, they never tell you anything. So I'll be like, oh, there's a World War II scene. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, just for the people out there, like even for games I'm really excited about, I don't look into that much. I just kind of want to wait and surprise myself. So. Like, they're always like, oh, did you see this about this game? And I'm like, no. So when it comes to, like, hype for new games, I'm terrible when it comes to a podcast for that.
Yeah, Jim has never been good for, doing research, looking into things, following up, all the standard stuff.
I do research.
You go to Wikipedia and that's it.
Sometimes it's not on Wikipedia. Sometimes I might have to spend more than 2 minutes looking something up.
All right. So then, yeah, obviously in the comments below, I would think most people are happier that Call of Duty, but I'm sure a lot of people have bailed out on the franchise long ago, which I fully understand. But I want to see what you guys think in the comments below, so make sure you let us know. Moving on, Jim, we'll let you answer first. What games will you buy this year, or at least you're really thinking you're going to buy, if all goes well?
Well, Call of Duty's a given because we get it every year. All of our buddies get it, so I'll be getting that. Injustice 2, I think I might actually splurge and get that. I really like the first one. It's built on the Mortal Kombat engine. It's a great fighting game. So, and I'm more of a DC fanboy than Marvel. So if they do the stories right, I'll be all in with that. What else? I already bought Breath of the Wild. It's actually funny because I don't wind up buying that many new games like during the year. So I may maybe get a handful, like 5 new ones tops, because I'm too busy collecting old shit too. But yeah, I see you have Outlast 2. Yeah, I don't know. Prey, Snarkcast seems to like it so far. Maybe. Fractured But Whole, if that comes out this year, like we talked about last week, I'll get that. But yeah, besides that, nothing really tickling my pickle here.
All right. So for me, just to knock off the same, obviously, Injustice 2. Really just enjoy the shit out of that engine. I love the first game. I definitely probably, well, I know I played it a lot more than Jim, and I love the hell out of it. So I'll definitely get that one. I just don't not sure when. It definitely won't be brand new for me, but it'll definitely be a pickup at some point this year. Just for my penchant for horror games, obviously I'm gonna go with Outlast 2, Prey. Yeah, it's Snarkast. Obviously, I'm gonna look for you to give me a little bit more insight on that game. I know you just played the demo, but that's one I'm gonna wait on because I'm still not sold on it yet. But it looks interesting. Obviously Friday the 13th, and that's one I'm gonna force Jim to get because that's just gonna be an awesome game, and I can't wait to kill Jim as Jason.
Yeah. Look, if it's like Left 4 Dead, I'll be all I'm down for that.
And then Call of Duty is a no-brainer. Star Wars Battlefront 2. If I do, that's going to be like really one of the last ones because I actually played Star Wars Battlefront 1. I actually liked it. I know a lot of people didn't. It didn't, with the fact that it was pretty much just multiplayer. I still had fun with it, but yeah, that'll be, like I said, that'll be a big maybe. And the only other one that I'm just really interested in to see how it turns out is the apparent Shenmue 3, if it really is getting released this year. I was interested in the original Shenmue, never played the second one, so I'm just curious to see. I would hope it's going to be very groundbreaking or offer something really new that we haven't seen, like most of them did, and I might pick that up. But yeah, not a huge selection, but like Jim said, neither of us pick up that many new games. We usually just are cheap asses and wait for our sale. So, and with running the site, it's obviously tough to find time to sit and play a bunch of new games. So, yeah. But in the comments below, once again, let us know what you're going to buy and if there's any biggies you think we might have missed or didn't talk about. The next. And this one, I'm definitely interested in your feedback, Jim. But I thought about this. We're going back to our overrated, underrated. And I wanted to throw out there the Geo AES system. So it's the home system. Do you think it's overrated or is it underrated?
Shit. It's actually a really tough call because, I mean, let's face facts here. The Neo Geo AES has always been overpriced, even from day one. Like, it was like what, a $700 console when it came out. Games for it were $200 a piece, but it gave you legitimately the arcade experience in your home. So it did its job. I guess I would probably go underrated, and not even for the collecting side, because that's a system I will probably never collect for unless I get some kind of like crazy deal. I'm not going to go out and spend that kind of money. And I know people will say, get some MVS games and get that little adapter thing. No. I'll emulate before I do any of that. Like, even I have my limits when it comes to spending on games and shit like that. But yeah, I'll say the quality of the library, like, there's not a lot of stinkers on there. So yeah, it's a small library. It's an extremely expensive library, but it's too quality for me to possibly call it overrated. So yeah, I'm going to go underrated on it.
Okay. So I actually knew a kid in grade school, and he was that one kid in my school that had a Neo Geo. So I had
Really?
I didn't even know what it was. Everyone made fun of him because nobody even knew what it was. And obviously, where I grew up, a lot of people didn't have much money. None of us had a lot of money, so it was really rare to hear of that. And I remember going over and playing some games and being blown away just by the graphics, the sounds, and like you said, it was, you basically have an arcade system in your house. But some of my more critiques for the system, like you kind of touched on, there is a really small library. I think when I last looked up, it was about 148 games, and there really isn't a lot of bad ones, like you said, but in general, what the system is most known for tends to be just their fighting games and side-scrolling shooters. Not saying they don't have other ones, so don't crucify me with that, but let's face it, like that's kind of what they're most known for. And I really like the fact that it offered such an arcade perfect system, but I hated the controller. Let me just put that out there. That arcade pad, whatever that came with it, I felt like that thing was clunky as hell. And even my friends, I remember the ball and the stick, like after not too much use, that thing kind of went to shit really fast. I'm not an expert on the AES, so I can't remember if you could replace it with just like a more typical controller, but that was a big sticking point for me. And how you said, like, the fact that it's so fucking expensive is insane. And I'm sorry, for me, it's not worth it. And I do think it is overrated. The games on it, especially the fighting games, they were mostly ported to Super NES, PlayStation eventually, Dreamcast. So, yeah, you might not have that same perfect graphics, but, one of the biggest things gamers always say is graphics don't make a game. And that system, the biggest showcase for it was its graphics and sound. So, it would never be worth it for me to go buy that system for the type of prices I've seen it for. I'm just, to me, it's overrated. Now, once again, that is saying nothing about the games themselves. If you wanted to go game for game in that, I don't think it really has that many overrated games on it. But for a system, yeah, it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And to your point, I know there's like a pretty popular third-party arcade stick that what seemed like to be a little more comfortable, didn't have the wacky button design. And if you went out and bought a Neo Geo CD, I think that's more of a traditional kind of controller, and I think you can use that controller on the AES too. But again, I'm no expert on it, so I might be wrong, but I think I'm right on that.
Okay. But yeah, no, I mean, if you're a collector for it, more power to you, and if you have the money to shell out for that, that's cool. But yeah, for me, won't do it. Alrighty, next one. Keeping on, topics we always like to go to are which is better, series, and this is another one. And I like. I think it's going to be a tough one for many
Jesus.
people. Yeah, So I need to preface it. It's which is better, Capcom or Konami, but specifically for the NES generation. So you're not considering anything past the NES, strictly their NES library games. In my eyes, when I consider, NES developers who were the most impactful, aside from obviously Nintendo themselves and their first-party games, those are kind of the two, I think, juggernauts. I'm not saying they're the only ones, but they're kind of the two I think of the most. So I want to put it to a test and see who do we think is better. So, Jim, I'm going to let you go first.
You're such a butt fucker. Ooh, that snuck up. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. All right, Capcom, Mega Man games, and
some of the Disney games.
Maybe let me first. You know what? I was going to first kind of give a brief just for everyone. Just highlighting the games before we make our decisions.
Yes, do that. You do that.
Obviously, Capcom, I'm just going to kind of go down the list. I have the list in front of me, so I'll go down. 1942 and 43, great shooters. Bionic Commando, if you like it, I understand. If you don't, you don't. Darkwing Duck, I know some people liked it. I wasn't a huge fan of it. DuckTales, people still swear by it today. I actually really enjoy that game. But that, DuckTales 2, all the Mega Man games, Ghosts and Goblins, Gunsmoke. There are so many great games here. I'm still going through the list, so sorry, guys. But, I mean, I'm trying to see, through their library, they definitely have some stinkers, and I'm not going to sit here and name every single one. But... And don't crucify Jim and I, because we kind of just threw this up. I didn't actually prep the list. I just wanted to kind of get that gut feeling without digging.
They made money Final Fight. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Mighty Final Fight's so good.
So that's Capcom in a nutshell. They made a lot of good games for sure. And
yeah, they did.
If you're, Strider, they made. So they have a good library. Konami, I can just name a little bit better off the top of my head. But, Batman Returns, Blades of Steel, the Castlevania games, Contra, the hell was that other sports? This is a
Double Dribble.
Yeah, basically a lot of the better sports games that Jim and I played.
Jackal's a good one. They made
Goonies and Goonies 2, which, Goonies 2 is loved, and admittedly I've never actually played that, but a lot of people seem to really like it. Gradius, which I really like that. It's one of my favorite probably NES shooters, aside, of course, from Contra. Monster in My Pocket. I actually really like that game for the obvious reason. Not saying it's the best
game. Turtles games.
Yep, the Turtles games. And it's got the best fighter on the NES with TMNT Tournament Fighters, which is expensive now, but it's a great game. Either way, so those are kind of what you're looking at. I think most people will boil it down to the Mega Man series versus Castlevania series, DuckTales versus Goonies 2 versus Contra. So anyone can boil it down to anything, but now, Jim, let's hear what your pick is. Which is better?
I'll still probably go with Konami, just because they have, Capcom's, I'm looking through the list, their selection of games is fantastic. I just think I'd probably gravitate more towards the Konami games, besides the fact that the Konami games are actually a little more, how should I put this? They're a little more diverse, I guess. So it isn't just say shooters or platformers or shit like that. Yeah, I guess if you want sports games, you have that. And I think the Ultra games, that label was the secondary publishing company they had to get around Nintendo's, only so many games a year from a third party company. So you could kind of lump those in as well. So I'll go Konami, but it's kind of just barely I'll go Konami.
Okay. No, good reason. Me, I'm definitely going Konami.
I figured.
Castlevania alone would have done it, but in reality, after playing every sports game on the NES, I really do enjoy their sports games, and like Jim said, they seem to have just a little bit more variety. I do like the Mega Man games, and I've played most of them, not all of them. And obviously, Mega Man 2 is my favorite of the ones I have played. But I don't know. It just doesn't stack up to Konami the same way. Like Jim said, it's not saying that the library lags at all, but just what appeals to me the most. So this is one I'm very curious. I really want to make sure you guys comment below because I want to see the general consensus. I feel like the list will always ended up being picked by if you just happen to have one of your favorite games or series on there. But let's hear you out. I want to hear what you guys think. All right. So I kind of want to introduce I'll call it a new reoccurring topic, just like which is better and overrated, underrated. And each time we do this podcast, I want us to each name a random, obscure game. Call it a gem. I really hate calling games hidden gems because the shit ain't hidden. It's out there. You just got to find it. So I like to say something that's a little more obscure, people might not have heard of. Even if they did, just a game that you want to point out that you really enjoy. So, Jim, I'll let you go first because I know you have a really weird library at your house.
Yeah, you're right, and you're probably going to be pissed off at my selection. But
oh, fuck. And remember, just one at a time.
Yeah, I know. Just one at a time. So this week, I'm going to go with... It's a series that, among, people who were around at the time and, are more into the history of video games, they'll know about the series. But people who are only gamers now or from, say, the PlayStation onward, they've either barely heard of or they've almost certainly never played. And I actually finally got my first version of one, so I'm going to go with Fantasy Zone on the TurboGrafx 16. it came out back in the late 80s on fucking every console. It's got ports on the NES, the Famicom. It's got hidden ports in other games, the Genesis, the Master System, the Game Gear. But yeah, I wound up picking up the turbo version, and it's fucking great. It's definitely that. It's a cute 'em up with that Defender style of gameplay, and it actually plays really well, and it's balls hard. But I'm having a blast playing it when I have like a couple minutes to myself to actually play.
And what type of game is it?
It is a Defender like side-scrolling shooter, like those Infinite kind of side-scrolling shooters, but it is also very bright and colorful. So you could also call it a cute 'em up in a way.
I won't do that, but okay. not
I do it. Call it
not
cute.
as bad of a choice as I thought you were going to go with. So okay, I figured you would go with TurboGrafx though. So me, I'm going to go NES, and one I never heard of up until a year ago is Monster Party, and I actually bought it on eBay, and I really love it. I tend to emulate a lot. It's no secret, but this was one I was willing to get the physical copy of. It's a side-scrolling action platformer that basically you're this kid in this world filled with monsters, and you can get power-ups to turn into a dragon. But what I really love is in some levels, and unfortunately, I don't have the gameplay footage here, so you'd have to look it up. But in some levels, like midway through, the already kind of crazy world you're in turns into an even more nightmarish world, and graphically, sound-wise, it's a really strong game. I'm not going to say the controls and gameplay blew me away, but the atmosphere alone and just what it represented there is really enjoyable. So if you're into monster games or horror or anything like that, like I am, or you just kind of want a more obscure NES title that's you probably maybe never heard of, that's one I would suggest.
Brad, looking at chat, Travis played it too. It scared the shit out of him as a kid.
Yeah, that it's if I had played that as a kid, especially in some of those levels, I could definitely be there right with you. It's a good game though.
Yeah, real quick. Apparently Roger Jr. has been removed from the new Tekken game, from Tekken 7, because of animal rights activists who have to shit on everything like usual. So I didn't really read too far into the article. I found it from thegamingground.com. I skimmed it. There's a quote there from the guy who was one of the planners or developers. God damn it, fucking phone can't get it going. But basically they were kind of surprised, and all of a sudden the animal rights people came out of nowhere, and they just kind of didn't want to deal with it.
Jim, so this harks back to you not looking into stuff. So after
I
reading,
was rushed and I didn't.
you put the goddamn article up there.
I know. I was going to read it later, and I never did.
Well, I read the article because
Good man.
I'm good like that. So it was, I don't want to call it a prank, but someone somewhere started saying that PETA was boycotting the game, or like basically protesting that it was animal cruelty to have Roger Jr. in there. And since Jim didn't mention he's a kangaroo, so it should just be stated that. But obviously Tekken has like pandas and other shit in there. It's not the only animal in there, but the main guy, and I don't have his name either, but he was like, yeah, PETA never contacted us. I really don't know what you're talking about. And then he kind of went on this nonsensical rant and was typing terrible broken English. So I'm not really sure exactly what the fallout is from there. But, I mean, I think the gist is that we can expect Roger Jr. to be in the game, unless something changes. But it sounded like he was like, no, they didn't contact me. And he kind of made the point I just said is like, we have other animals in there. We would have to probably remove them all versus just one. So, yeah.
Wow, good thing you read that article.
But no, what I do like about the article and what it could bring up is Jim and I obviously always touch on the fact that we feel like the crazy PC culture right now could really tend to start going back and trying to ruin games, especially established games like Tekken. number one, have you ever fucking seen a kangaroo in real life? Those things will fuck you up. So I don't have fear. If it was like a little kitten character, maybe you'd feel bad for it. Kangaroos are tough sons of bitches. Just look up some videos of like, muscular kangaroos like scratching on people's doors. That shit is no, fuck that. I wouldn't feel bad for a kangaroo if it got punched in the face. But yeah, if PETA ever did try to boycott a game over animal cruelty, that would be absolutely ridiculous. And if anybody,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Nothing would surprise me, but if someone can't disassociate video games, and especially when it comes to animal, I think a video game should be able to depict pretty much whatever it wants. No one is forcing you to buy it. It's weird. There are much more terrible things I've seen in video games and the depiction of things that I absolutely don't agree with, but I would never boycott or say, like, you need to get rid of those. So hopefully that won't become the case, but yeah, it's interesting topic that you threw out there. So the next topic is from our buddy Kitt, and if we could replace one main character from a game with another, who would it be? So, Jim, I'll let you go first since you got this question on here, and I'm sure you thought about it.
I probably should have thought about it more than I did. But, yeah, again, thanks again, Kid, for another question. And video game character in another game. See, it's kind of a tough one because you don't want to put it like so crazy that, say, you can't put like Samus in a Mario game because she'll just blow the shit out of everything. So it'll be awesome, but it would also make the game basically completely broken. And I think there's already a bunch of homebrews like that out there, to be honest with you. So if I had to put someone in there, you know what would be fun? Maybe almost like if you put Dante from Devil May Cry in Zombies Ain't My Neighbors. Just instead of, just you have this demigod going around slicing the shit out of classic horror villains and shit like that, and deciding whether or not he actually wants to save humans. So I think that would be kind of a cool game. Or even doing a whole, Dante verse monsters in almost like a Robotron or Smash TV kind of game. I always like those dual stick games. So if you do that with a brawler, that could be something different.
So you'd go Dante.
Yeah, Dante and Smash TV. That's what I'll say.
I would probably go with Kratos and Castlevania. I think that's close enough.
Wasn't that called Lords of Shadow? Don't we already have that?
Yeah, you could put it like that, but I would actually like to see him rendered down to a 2D platformer. See him imagine that way. Like, still have all the same attacks and powers, just put it in a 2D world. He already is fighting mythological gods and creatures in his games, and with the upcoming one where he's in the Nordic gods, it's not terribly far off for him to fight vampires and other mythological creatures. So yeah, I think that would be pretty badass, and I think you could make it in such a way where he's not overpowered. I mean, Alucard, after a bunch of shit that you can upgrade him with in Symphony of the Night, that motherfucker can be overpowered. So I think you could get away with it with Kratos, and that's just one is a probably easier example of what I would like to see. But yeah, I think that would be really cool.
Not a bad idea. That would be fun to see him in there. Travis in the chat said to put Titus in with any other game. So Titus is the annoying main character of Final Fantasy X. So no matter what, it's not pretty. It'll be an instant improvement.
Well, what are those games where you can just keep killing the main character over and over again, different ways? That would be interesting.
Oh shit! Yeah, why am I? How about Ghost Simulator but with Titus? How about that?
Yeah, that would be that would definitely be interesting. But no, I thought about that topic, and I kind of wanted to I tried thinking okay, well, just like the obvious, swap the most iconic with the most iconic. So, I went down the line of would it be interesting to see like Link in Mario's world? But obviously, I think he'd probably run into that same thing of being a little too overpowered. So, yeah, it's an interesting topic, and obviously, guys, and if you have more time and you're commenting on our videos, you'll probably come up with even better ones. But let us know below if ones you think.
Travis has had another good one. John Marston from Red Dead and Wild Guns. That's actually a pretty good one.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be interesting.
All right, so we're out of topics, but I do actually have some Q&A that I didn't have time to put into the list.
So,
Son of a bitch.
Brian, I'm sorry.
And why do you rack so much discipline?
I do rack discipline. I can't lie there. I might have dropped the ball a little on the podcast this week. Not gonna lie. So, don't. Oh, and apparently apparently we don't know how to make videos anymore either after that last Atari video.
Yeah, Jim.
that was a little vicious.
Jim doesn't. He's not the video maker. I'm the video maker. That's why he doesn't do solo stuff. Let's just put it that way.
And don't worry, Jay Benson, I'm getting a Blue Yeti, so the quality, at least, of my beautiful velvety voice will be better for you.
And Jay Benson, just to alleviate you, just so you know, now that I am back to editing videos, so I will be back to bringing more regular style reviews and other content on a regular basis. So Jim will finish out the Atari stuff, but don't worry. Daddy's here.
My reign of terror will be over. But, all right, so from our buddy Castle Zotz, a couple questions from him. First up, what is our favorite soccer RPGs for the NES? Brian, I'll let you start.
Well, there's only one soccer RPG for the NES, so was it Tecmo?
It was Tecmo Soccer, yep.
And I actually like it, so yeah,
I actually like it too.
Crazy RPG. We couldn't quite believe there was an RPG soccer game that existed, but they did it, and it was goofy. I will say, after going back through and re-recording footage for the video, I did grow tired of it after a couple hours. But I mean, for a quick little bit of fun, it's a good game. Yeah,
I'll agree with you there. And yeah, Zotz always seems to have those nice, somewhat almost extremely specific questions. So I'm going to keep asking him. I want to see what he gets with week to week. But next one's a little more serious. What beers pair best with Atari's 2600 shooters? And Jim, just you might as well take this. Yeah, go ahead. You're the beer guy.
All right. So let's just say I have something in the works where there will be a series coming out from us on YouTube where I go into depth about the best type of beers to pair with specific game genres. My computer's being balls slow right now, so I'm actually opening up for shooters specifically. So just hang with me for 1 second. Obviously, if you watch our videos, you watch our reviews, I don't just randomly pick a beer out of the hat. And, when we did some of our early reviews, we did more of this is what we were drinking when we played this game. And that's why a lot of the earlier ones, it was kind of like the same beer for 4 or 5 videos, because Jim and I would literally get together for a couple hours, play a bunch of different games, and really go through like a half a case or a case of beer as we're doing it. So, and then we slowly started, melting that into actually pairing specific beers. For a while there, we were just kind of going with ones we know, and not that many of you have seen this, but when Jim would be pairing, there was a lot of Keystone thrown in there. Let's put it that way, because he kept tapping that well. So now
Keystone, Smittix.
Yeah. So now
Molson.
I'm taking a much more actual approach, and I've been digging into beer styles and the couple hundred beer styles there are. Well, not a couple hundred, I'd say in the high hundreds. And really thinking about game genres and what would pair the best. What I'll say right off the bat is drink whatever you like with whatever game you're playing. That's going to probably be your best experience. But as a general rule, if you are playing certain type of games, from experience now, certain beers just kind of help you maintain a certain buzz or can really complement a game the right way. God damn, this computer's slow. But it's almost there, guys. Hold on. So... So anyway, with all that being said, I really wanted to put out a series of videos that highlights, if you're playing this type of game genre, here's the type of beer you should drink. And, I already kind of started writing out ideas for it. And you'll be seeing them within the next couple months, I'll say. Because I want to release them kind of back to back. I don't want to do them too sparingly. But anyway, now that I'm done talking my face off, generally for shoot 'em ups, if you're talking about ales, I like to go with Belgian and Trappist style beers. They tend to be usually higher alcohol and much more flavorful. So you're going to talk about your triples, your quads, your Belgian strong or dark ales. And the reasoning behind it is those games don't really allow you a lot of time to drink during the game. So you're going to get a sip in here and there. You don't want anything that's going to, obviously if you overindulge in it, it will get you drunk. But I imagine you just get one big bottle of this, you sit down with your favorite game, and if it's an Atari, if you're really good at it, then you really shouldn't be drinking much. If you suck, like probably I do at most first-time shooters for the Atari 2600, I'll probably be drinking a lot more, which will mean I'll just do worse. But yeah, if you're going through clearing stages, you get a sip in between, and you really get to savor that flavor, and it's going to last with you. And most of those type of beers can kind of sit out for a couple hours without going bad. So it's a really good type of style to choose when drinking those beers. Now, if you're a lager fan, I'd say go with Box. If you don't know what Box are, then don't worry about it and just stick to the ales. But they're kind of the same mindset, except they're a lot easier to drink. And that would be for more like if you're like me and suck at a game and you're going to be drinking every couple seconds. So there's my recommendation.
All right. Yeah, I guess I'll go with all that.
Jim would just do Keystone.
No, not just Keystone. Probably a lot of Keystone, though. Yeah, probably. It is funny. Snarkcast mentioned in the chat how, not like when we first started and we paired Stella Artois a lot with a lot of stuff. Which, yeah, he's got a point there, especially on the written end.
The first, like I said, the first 5 videos I know we did was all Lion's Head. Then it was probably
yep.
Miller, and then Stella and Keystone, because we were just knocking out the beers we knew the best while we were doing the written reviews as well. And we are going to get back into that swing of things with the written reviews, but obviously, I think most of our precedent has been with YouTube for right now. So, like I said, as you can tell, especially when we do the regular reviews, there is a lot more thought, and it's not ever just, oh, well, this beer is this. So, yeah.
Yeah, Bri does take pride in his beer pairing, so I'll give him that, Mr. Son of a Bitch. All right, we'll do these lightning round style. So, Dolphin Duel to the Death. Which wins? Dolphin on the Atari 2600 versus Echo the Dolphin.
Echo.
I've never played Dolphin on the Atari, so I'm going to go with the Atari one because I've never liked Echo.
I love Echo because that's the only one I know.
There you go. All right, next up from our old friend Beth, a.k.a. Space Pants. Why doesn't Dr. Pepper or Diet Dr. Pepper taste more like regular Dr. Pepper?
Because there's not sugar in it.
Fair enough. I think it tastes kind of close. Are there guys that drink Blue Moon? Us in college?
Yes, it's every college guy when they first step away from Miller Lite or Bud Light, and that's their idea of, that's the first, ooh, that's kind of like craft beer.
That's what we did. So we're guilty right there. Where have all the cowboys gone? They're all gay and eating pudding, so there's no more new cowboys? I had to go with South Park logic. I was stumped.
Yeah. I'll just say They're still out west. Go find them.
And finally, a serious one from her. Favorite PC title from the 90s. So I'll let you go first.
Oh, motherfucker. Oh, damn. that is not a lightning round. All right, if I'm trying to just think really fast, I'm just going to go Duke Nukem 3D.
All right. Duke Nukem 3D, I'll definitely go StarCraft. And, we actually got one from Travis.
Oh, motherfucker.
Brian,
actually, let me back it up. No, I have to go Age of Empires 2. Yeah.
Was that in the 90s?
Well, I thought it was. I know the original Age of Empires was. I don't. If it is, then that. Was. If not, then Duke Nukem 3D.
All right. Solid. And let's see here. Brian, or from Travis. Jim, why is Brian the arbiter of beers? Well, Brian, why are you the arbiter? I think it's because you're a dick. You're a little fancy pants dick who thinks you're a know-it-all. That's why.
Because I do research and look into things and try way more beers than Jim. Let's be honest. Jim has probably tried, I'm going to venture a guess and say 200 beers in his life.
It might be good. Maybe a little
I'm probably closer to 1,000 at this point. I try new things as often as I can, and I've done way too many hours of research into beers. So, yeah, that's why.
Todd Snarkass saying XCOM's definitely his favorite in the chat room for 90s PC games. Very good choice.
XCOM's good. I just never played it when I was a kid. I played it now, though, and I like it. All right, so Jim, since you're repeating your same beer, I'm assuming it's still treating you the same?
Yingling doesn't do me wrong. What can I say? I'm a Yingling fan.
All right, so as far as Yingling, they said the porters are best. Definitely their most flavorful beer. Drinks real easily, so I can see why they're calling it the best. If you're looking for a quick kind of drinking beer, stick with their traditional lager, or like Jim had the light one. I'd still say go with the traditional though. But if you want to have just like maybe 2 to 3 beers in a night and you're not trying to pound them down, the porter is a really good option. But it will lay a little bit heavier in your stomach, so I really like it.
So
all right,
that'll
guys.
do it for tonight.
Well, thank you all for watching. Thank you for your questions. Thank you guys in the chat. Keep on sending us questions. We love this shit. And as always, guys, cheers.
Cheers, guys. Have a good night.